Welcome, comrades and friends. Global Weekly News, serial number 188. Since my wife is ill, there is a delay in this program. Sorry for that. First item. Infections spread in Gaza. Health conditions in Gaza remain critical as the Israeli occupation, despite the ongoing so-called ceasefire, continues to undermine the provision of health services and access to care. Over recent weeks, health workers have recorded a rising number of infectious disease cases with children, older people, etc. A widespread increase in infections has been observed due to famine, malnutrition, and the lack of necessary vaccinations. Food, shelter, a protective family, healthcare, and education. Those are the 5 essential things every child needs. And in Gaza, every single one of these essential things has been targeted. According to UN sources, at least 10 children have frozen to death due to winter in tents. Since October 2023, Israel's systematic assault on Gaza's healthcare sector has contributed directly to the deaths of tens of thousands of people. In less than 3 years, the genocide has reduced Gaza's population by at least 254,000 people, around 10% of the total population. Comrades, now we go to South America, where devastating fires in Chile took place. Devastating fires in Chile continue to ravage the south of the country. The magnitude of the damage compelled the center-left Gabriel Boric government to declare a state of catastrophe in several regions of the country. According to the National Forestry Corporation, there are 10 fire hotspots where firefighters and other state agencies are working intensively. There are 48 active fires in the country. The fires began on January 17. So far, more than 280 fires have been recorded, of which about 139 have been brought under control. More than 20 people have died, and 50,000 people have been forced to evacuate their homes immediately. More than 2,000 tons of debris have been removed from the disaster areas. President Gabriel Boric has stated that he will provide immediate financial aid to those affected. The flames have destroyed a vast area of more than 64,000 hectares. The actual amount of forest destroyed will likely increase as the fire remains uncontrolled. The support of firefighters from other countries has been essential in the work to mitigate the fires. 195 from Mexico, 31 from Uruguay, 15 from Argentina, 10 from Spain, and among others. Several scientists say that the fires are not only due to the extreme summer heat, drought, and wind, but also because people have altered nature in such a way that fires spread more quickly. It is important to note that Chile is facing a long drought has lasted for several years. Global climate change is once again wreaking havoc for which humanity is still unprepared. Third item, comrades, we go to Cuba. China and Russia reaffirm commitment to Cuba. The January 3rd attack on Venezuela by the US military profoundly transformed the dynamics in the region, especially in the Caribbean. Following agreements reached between the Venezuelan government led by Delcy Rodriguez and the Trump administration, Cuba was forced to quickly seek solutions to its economic crisis. For more than 60 years of economic and trade blockade by US imperialism, Cuba has managed to survive thanks to the support of allied governments like Soviet Union. After the fall of USSR, Cuba has navigated a prolonged economic crisis thanks to the support of governments such as China and Vietnam, among others. Despite threats from the US and the tightening of sanctions against Cuba, Venezuela decided to sell oil and other products in exchange for the various services that Cuban professionals like doctors could offer to Venezuela. Several of the Venezuelan oil tankers seized by US forces in the Caribbean Sea were bound for Cuba, sending a strong and clear message to the government of Cuban president. No more oil or money for Cuba, zero. I strongly suggest that they come to an agreement before it is too late. Trump said in his social media, Truth Social. Since Washington has forced the Venezuelan government to stop selling oil to Cuba, Havana has to turn to other allies. China has pledged food and financial aid to the revolutionary government in Havana. China's aid includes the delivery of 60,000 tons of rice to Cuba, the first part of which arrived in Cuba on 20th January. In November last year, China sent 6 shipments of food by air. In 2025, China sent essential supplies to Cuba, including solar lamps, roofing materials, and mattresses. In addition, Chinese President Xi Jinping approved financial assistance amounting to $8 crore. Russia has also maintained friendly ties with Cuba. On January 21, Russian Interior Minister Vladimir Kolokolchev, accompanied by a delegation of Russian officials and military personnel, held talks with Miguel Diaz-Canel, the president of Cuba, in Havana. Once again, the resilience and resistance of the Cuban people will be put to the test in the face of US power, which since the beginning of the Cuban Revolution has done everything possible to destroy it. Fourth item, comrades, we got solidarity to Venezuela by NUMSA, South Africa, demanding the release of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and First Lady Cilia Flores. South Africa's largest trade union marched to the US consulate in Johannesburg on 24th January. In defending Venezuela, we defend the sovereignty of all nations, concluded the memorandum read aloud outside the consulate by Irving Jim, General Secretary of the over 460,000 members strong National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, NUMSA. It is Venezuela today. It will be South Africa tomorrow. Jim warned in his address to the demonstration. US President Trump, who has bombed parts of Nigeria after concocting a false story about a Christian genocide in Nigeria, has also been spinning stories about the white genocide underway in South Africa. NUMSA warned in a statement, Donald Trump can easily base the NUMSA warned in a statement, Donald Trump can easily base the lie of a white genocide in South Africa to invade South Africa, capture South African's president, and transfer him capture South Africa's president and transport him to a jail in the US and declare that he is now in charge of our country and all its natural wealth. After the US criminal military invasion of Venezuela, it is foolish to ignore this threat to South Africa. This is NUMSA's warning. NUMSA's president, Andrew Chilwa, said in his opening address to the demonstration, "Today it is Venezuela that was attacked by this international criminal. Tomorrow it is Cuba, Iran, Nigeria, South Africa. All over the world, this man is desirous of sucking blood of human beings." Members of NUMSA and workers across various sectors are losing jobs because Trump has imposed 30% tariffs against South Africa, Jim addressed in his speech. Stressing the need for an anti-imperialist front to mobilize the workers across party and union affiliations, Jim said that NUMSA will soon be convening a political seminar uniting all the progressive political parties. It is about time to unite the working class behind a revolutionary agenda as South Africa faces increasing US aggression. South Africa, the Union maintains, is being punished by Trump for taking the genocidal state of Israel to the International Court of Justice. The South African government must also continue to demand the release of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and Comrade Celia Flores in all international forums, added the memorandum, which was also copied to the Ministry of International Relations, demanding that the football governing body cancel all World Cup matches in the US this year. A copy of the memorandum was also sent to the Federation of International Football Associations president. It further called on the African Union and the BRICS to urgently convene and formulate a coordinated and collective response to the US imperialist aggression, expressing solidarity with American citizens who are being brutalized by immigration customs enforcement. NUMSA insisted this is a moment when all people of the world, including well-meaning US citizens and all South Africans, must unite against imperialism. Fifth item, comrades, Jose Marti, long live Jose Marti. Remembering Jose Marti. 28th January, we remember the Cuban independence leader and writer Jose Marti, a symbol of Latin American unity against imperialism. 28th January is his birthday. Marti was a Cuban poet, thinker, and an essential figure in the Cuban struggle for independence from Spain. Through his writing and undeterred leadership, he became an icon of liberation and freedom for all in Latin America and the Caribbean, reaching the heights of Simon Bolivar and Augusto Sandino. Jose Marti coined the concept of Our America, a political, social, cultural, and economic alternative to the America subjugated by US imperialism. Forward from here, now we will quote some famous quotes from Jose Marti. One is, rights are to be taken, not requested, seized, not begged for. You don't beg for your rights. That's what Jose Marti said. Do not put me in the dark to die like a traitor. I am good, and like a good thing, I will die with my face to the sun. This is also said by Jose Marti. Sixth item, comrades. Trade unions left in Europe express solidarity with Minnesota general strike. Trade unions and left parties in Europe have expressed widespread solidarity to the January 23 general strike in Minnesota, stressing the importance of resistance in the face of growing violence by the Trump administration. The horrific images of children as young as 5 years old being arrested or people being executed in police gunfire in the middle of the streets are part of an organized operation by the US government to terrorize entire neighborhoods, schools and workplaces, wrote the Greek All Workers Militant Front PAME Union. Murders, arrests of children, terror inflicted on the population. These are the methods of a fascist police. French MP Emma Furor similarly wrote on social media, responding to the killing of nurse Alex Preety. She is a 37-year-old ICU intensive care unit nurse, was shot dead by Customs and Border Protection agents on 24th January in America. Commenting on Preety's killing, PAME warned that such events cannot be understood as isolated incidents. They are the result of a policy that seeks to slander the people as an enemy whenever they raise their heads, the organization wrote. The strike under the motto, no work, no school, no shopping, is a powerful, peaceful expression of solidarity and resistance, wrote Peter Mertens, General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Belgium. Hundreds of businesses closed and thousands of people took to the streets, even in extreme freezing temperatures. Following the successful general strike on 23rd January, groups in Minnesota in US have issued the call for another mass shutdown on 30th January. Lastly, comrades, warning by Malaysian farmers. Scores of farmers, members of the indigenous communities and activists in Malaysia joined to oppose the government's move to join the International Union for the Protection of New Varieties of Plant, UPAW, on 20th January, calling the move detrimental to the national interest. Protesters shouted slogans such as, "Seed is not a commodity, it is the life of a farmer," and opposed the proposed amendments in the country's Protection of New Varieties of Plants Act 2004. The Malaysian Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has proposed amendments in the country's decades-old seed regulations in order to align the country's law with the UPAW Convention. Protesters denounced the UPO, calling it an organization solely formed under the pressure of European seed corporations to further their interests at the cost of rights of farmers and indigenous people. Speakers addressing the gathering in Kuala Lumpur asserted that surrendering to the dictates of the UPO is compromising the country's sovereignty and like willingly accepting the colonial rule. Speakers addressing the gathering in Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, asserted that surrendering to the dictates of the International Union for the Protection of New Varieties of Plant, UPAW, is compromising Malaysia's sovereignty and like willingly accepting the colonial rule. Thank you, Comrade Salam. See you next week.